The unexpected guest, the battlefield was quiet now. Only smoke and broken machines remained. The war had ended weeks ago, but the scars were everywhere. The human commander walked through the ruins with heavy steps. His eyes scanning the ground for survivors, he told himself no one would be left. Yet a strange feeling pushed him forward. Then he saw her, an alien woman sitting on the ground, her body weak, her arms wrapped around a small child. Her face was pale, her eyes full of grief. She looked more like a shadow than a living being. She was a widow. Her husband had died in the war, and now she was left alone in a world that hated her kind. The commander stopped. His heart pulled in two directions. One voice whispered that she was the enemy. She did not belong here. The other voice reminded him of the oath he once took. To protect the helpless, the child coughed softly, and that sound broke the silence like a blade. He stepped closer, his hand resting on the weapon at his side. The alien widow looked up slowly. She did not move, she did not beg. Her eyes were calm but heavy with sorrow. She whispered in a voice trembling with fear, "Please, do not harm us." The commander said nothing. His eyes met hers, and for a moment he felt something strange. Not hate, not anger, but something else. He remembered the faces of human widows he had seen in the past, crying for their husbands lost in battle. Her face was the same. Her pain was the same. He bent down, looked at the child. The boy was thin and weak. His small hands clutched a broken piece of cloth. Maybe the last memory of his father. The commander sighed. He knew what he had to do, though he also knew the consequences. "Stand up," he said firmly. "You cannot stay here." The alien widow's eyes widened. Fear returned to her face. She thought he would kill her, but instead he offered his hand, hesitant. She placed her trembling hand in his, and he helped her rise. Her child clung to her side. The commander guided them out of the ruins, his mind already racing. He could hear the voices of his people in his head. They would never accept this. They would call him a traitor. Still, he could not leave them to die. Not after seeing the child, not after meeting her eyes. The journey back to the colony was long. The widow walked in silence. The boy often stumbled. The commander carried him for part of the way. The alien woman watched with surprise but said nothing. When they reached the edge of the human colony, the guards froze, their weapons raised. "Commander, what is this?" One guard shouted, "She is the enemy. Why bring her here?" The commander's voice was hard. "She is under my protection now." The guards exchanged uneasy looks but did not dare to argue. The commander's authority was strong. Yet whispers started at once. Inside the colony, people stopped and stared. Some spat on the ground. Some shouted insults. "Alien witch. Murderer's wife. Get out of here." The widow lowered her head. Her child clung tighter to her. The commander's face turned dark. He wanted to silence them, but he knew words would not change their hearts. He brought the widow to his own quarters, gave her food, water, and a bed. She hesitated before touching the bread, as if afraid it was a trick, but hunger finally forced her to eat. That night, the commander sat alone. Staring at the dim light, he asked himself why he had done this, why he had brought the enemy into his home. He knew his people would never forgive him. He knew danger would follow, yet deep inside he felt it was right. He thought of the boy's weak smile when he gave him water. He thought of the widow's silent tears when she saw kindness instead of hate. And he wondered if maybe, just maybe, this choice would change more than just two lives. The widow sat in the next room, holding her child close. She whispered in her own language, words the commander could not understand. But he felt their meaning. She was praying for safety, praying for a chance outside the house. Shadows moved, voices whispered, people already plotting what to do. They did not trust the alien. They did not trust the commander's judgment. The night grew heavy. Danger hung in the air like smoke. The commander did not sleep. He kept his weapon nearby, his eyes on the door. Deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. And in that quiet night, none of them could guess what the future held. The commander had taken in the alien widow, but destiny had much more waiting. A story that would test loyalty, love, and the fate of both species. Whispers of distrust. The next morning, the colony was restless. Word had already spread that the commander had brought an alien widow into his home. People gathered in small groups, whispering, their faces full of anger and suspicion. "He has betrayed us," some said. "He shelters the enemy. Tomorrow she will poison us," others whispered. "The commander has lost his mind." The commander walked through the streets, feeling every eye on him. The stares were sharp. The whispers cut like knives. Still, he kept his head high, but inside, he felt the weight pressing harder. In his quarters, the widow moved silently. She cleaned the small room, cooked a little food with her trembling hands, and cared for her child. She spoke few words. Afraid her voice itself would be hated, the boy tried to smile at the commander, but the commander could see fear in his young eyes. One evening, the council of elders called the commander. They sat in a circle, their eyes cold. "Why have you done this?" the eldest asked. "Do you not remember what her kind did to our soldiers? Do you not remember the graves outside these walls?" The commander's voice was steady. "I remember I fought in that war, but I also know she did not fight. She has lost her husband, she has a child. If we call ourselves human, we cannot leave them to die." The elders exchanged dark looks. One of them leaned forward. "Compassion can be weakness. Weakness can destroy a colony. Do not bring ruin upon us." When the commander returned home, he found a stone at his door. On it was written a single word: traitor. The widow saw it too, her eyes lowered. "I should leave," she whispered. "Your people will not accept me, and they will punish you." But the commander shook his head. "You will stay. I will protect you." That night, as the stars shone faintly above, the danger came. A shadow slipped into the colony. A raider from a broken alien clan. Carrying a blade, he thought the colony was weak. The raider crept through the dark alleys, heading straight toward the commander's house. But before the commander could reach his weapon, the alien widow moved, her senses sharper than any human. She grabbed a hidden tool and blocked the attack. The clash echoed through the house. The commander rushed in, struck the raider down, but he saw the widow standing firm, her child behind her, her hands shaking but her eyes filled with fire. For the first time, he saw not just sorrow but strength in her. The colony guards arrived too late. They dragged the raider's body away, but the whispers grew louder. "She brought danger to us. She called her own kind here. She is a spy," the commander argued. "She saved my life. She protected this colony tonight." But few listened. Their fear was stronger than reason. After the raid, the commander walked alone under the cold night. Doubt gnawed at him, yet he could not forget the sight of her standing against death. He realized she was more than a victim. She was a fighter inside. The widow sat beside her child, tears running down her face. She whispered in her broken human tongue, "Why do they hate me so much?" The commander had no answer, only silence, but deep in his heart, he knew the whispers of distrust were only the beginning. The colony's fear would soon turn to action, and he would have to choose between obeying his people or protecting the alien widow who had already risked everything. The night ended, but the storm was only just starting. The growing bond days passed, but the whispers did not fade. Instead, they grew like fire under dry grass. Every time the widow walked through the colony streets, people turned their faces away. Some threw small stones. Some spat near her feet. The commander saw all this, his jaw tight with anger, but he said nothing. Silence was his shield. He knew words could not change their hearts, yet he could not stop his own heart from changing. One evening, the widow cooked a simple meal. The commander sat across from her, the child between them for the first time. Laughter filled the small room. The boy giggled when the commander made a small joke. The widow's lips curved into a faint smile, her first since he had found her. As days turned into weeks, the commander and widow began to speak more. At first only short words, then longer conversations. She told him about her lost husband, about the traditions of her people, about the songs they used to sing at night. The commander listened, his eyes soft. He shared his own scars, the battles he had fought, the friends he had buried, the loneliness he carried like a shadow. Sometimes in the quiet of the night, they sat near the small fire. No words between them, only silence. Yet the silence felt heavy with meaning. But the colony was not blind. They saw the closeness growing. Whispers turned into accusations. He has fallen under her spell. She will destroy him. This is against nature. One night, someone carved new words on his door. Alien lover. The commander tore the wood away, but the message was already spread. Still, he did not push her away. Instead, he felt something new, a bond forming, something dangerous, something powerful. One evening, rain poured over the colony. The commander returned late from patrol, soaked and tired. The widow waited by the fire with a dry cloth. She reached out to wipe the water from his face. Her hand lingered a second too long. Their eyes met, the firelight dancing between them in her culture. Such a touch meant trust beyond fear. The commander did not know, but he felt it deep inside that same night. Chaos erupted outside. A group of colonists had gathered, shouting, demanding the widow be sent away. The commander stepped out. Rain dripping from his face, his voice thundered. "She stays if you want to fight." "Fight me," the mob growled. But no one dared step forward. Still, their hatred did not vanish. It only waited. Later, the widow whispered, "You risk everything for me, why?" The commander looked at her, his voice low. Because you are not the enemy anymore. You're part of this home. The boy, half asleep, smiled at those words, holding the commander's hand for the first time. That night the commander could not sleep. He sat by the window, listening to the rain, thinking of the danger growing outside and the dangerous feelings growing inside him. He knew this bond was no longer simple compassion. It was turning into something deeper, something the colony would never forgive. The storm outside faded, but inside, a greater storm had already begun. The secret revealed weeks turned into months, the whispers never ended. Yet inside the commander's home there was a strange peace. The widow's face no longer carried only sorrow. Sometimes her eyes carried light, sometimes even hope. The boy grew stronger. His cough faded, his laughter returned. He called the commander guardian in his broken human tongue. Every time the commander heard it, his chest grew heavy with feelings he could not name. But then changes began. The widow grew pale, her steps slow. Sometimes she fainted when no one was looking. The commander noticed, his worry growing like a shadow. One evening, she collapsed near the fire. The child cried out. The commander carried her in his arms. Fear gripping his heart, he called the colony doctor, though he knew the people would use this against him. The doctor arrived, his face tight with suspicion. He examined the widow, then froze, his eyes wide, his lips trembling. He looked at the commander, then at the widow. This is impossible, he whispered. She carries life inside her, a child, and it is not fully alien. The commander's heart stopped. He understood at once, his memories of that night, the closeness, the trust, the bond they had shared. The widow turned her face away, shame and fear covering her like a cloak. She whispered softly, I did not mean, but it happened. The doctor's voice grew cold. You have broken every law of nature. This will destroy us, he stormed out. His words already burning like fire in the streets. Within hours, the colony was alive with noise. People shouting, torches burning. Unnatural. Abomination. Banish them. The commander stood at his door, weapon in hand, his voice thundered. This is my family now. No one will touch them. But the crowd's fury only grew. Inside, the widow wept. I have cursed you. Your people will never forgive. The commander knelt beside her, his hand on hers. You have not cursed me. You have given me something I never thought I would have. A future. The boy sat silently, his small hands clutching the commander's arm. He did not fully understand, but he knew danger was near. Outside, the elders gathered, their faces hard as stone. This cannot be allowed, one said. The bloodlines must remain pure. Another spat. This child is a threat to both species. The commander's voice rose from inside the house. No, this child is not a threat. He is a bridge. He is hope. But no one listened. The night grew heavy with hatred. People demanded exile, some demanded death. The commander tightened his grip on his weapon, his heart torn between duty to his people and love for the family he never expected to find. In the silence that followed, only one truth echoed in his mind. He had taken in the alien widow, and now she carried his child. Their fate was bound together, and the world outside was ready to tear them apart. A family against the stars. The colony was no longer quiet. The streets were full of angry voices. Torches lit the night. The crowd demanded justice, demanded exile, some even demanded blood. The commander stood in front of his door, his weapon in hand, his face like stone. You will not touch them, he said. His voice deep, his eyes unshaken inside. The widow held her child, her hands trembling, her heart heavy, she whispered. They will kill us. We should run. But the commander shook his head. If we run now, they will never stop hunting us. Tonight we stand. The elders stepped forward, their robes dragging across the ground. You betray your people for her. For this child that should not exist, one shouted. You are no longer commander. You are nothing. Before the commander could answer, the alarm bell rang across the colony. Loud and sharp, shadows appeared in the distance. A fleet of alien raiders had come, their ships breaking through the sky like falling stars. Panic spread. The crowd scattered. The colony guards rushed to the walls, but their fear was greater than their courage. The raiders attacked. Fire rained from the sky. The colony shook with explosions. The commander rushed to the front, but he was not alone. The widow followed, her child safe with a neighbor woman. The guards shouted in anger, "Keep her back! She will betray us," but the widow did not stop. She used her alien senses, sharp and powerful, to detect the enemy's movements before they struck. She shouted warnings, saved lives, and fought with a strength no one expected side by side. The commander and the widow defended the colony, their movements in perfect rhythm, his blade and her alien weapon striking as one. Every raider that fell proved their unity. The battle was fierce, but at last the raiders retreated, their ships burning as they fled into the night sky. Silence returned, broken only by the cries of the wounded. The people looked around, their eyes falling on the widow. She stood tall, her face marked with sweat and blood, her hands still shaking. But alive, strong, unbroken, the commander spoke, his voice echoing across the ruins. You called her enemy, you called her curse. Tonight she saved you. Tonight she proved she is more human than many of you. Silence fell. Shame covered many faces. Whispers turned to quiet acceptance. Some even bowed their heads. The widow stepped forward, her eyes filled with tears. She whispered, I did not want war. I only wanted a home. The commander placed his hand over hers. You have one with me, with us. The child ran to them, his small arms wrapping around both. The people watched, and for the first time, no one spoke against them in the days that followed. The colony slowly changed. Distrust turned into caution, caution into respect, and respect into something stronger. When the child was born, half human and half alien, the people gathered. They did not spit, they did not curse, they looked in awe, for in his eyes they saw the future, a new beginning, a bridge between worlds. And though danger still waited among the stars, one truth remained clear. The commander had taken in an alien widow, never knowing she would become his wife, never knowing she would carry his child. But in the end, that choice saved more than just 2 lives. It saved an entire colony. Love had conquered fear, and a new story of humanity had begun.